I was talking about single player RTS versus multiplayer RTS. Like the experience of playing a single player RTS is completely different. When you're playing an RTS content wise in single player, you're often going up against an opponent that has most of the map under their control already, that provides you with really just a wall of things to grind through. When we think about like the quintessential RTS campaign mission, we think about starting off in really unfair circumstances where your opponent has a lot of the map under their control, a lot of pre-placed units that they just start the map with, right? They start the game with, right? When I say pre-placed, I mean they were placed before you got there, right? They're placed in the map. And does the AI use this in a way that like would immediately wipe you off the face of the map? No, because that would obviously not be very engaging or fun. So instead, they sit there doing nothing with those units, or maybe they go the more inventive RTS games will find some justification for why they're not doing that in the writing, like they're going to go attack some doodads, or maybe they're just on some patrol route or something and they're not aware of your presence or what have you. But most of the time, they're just there doing nothing. And then you'll attack them and you'll be like, wow, these guys have a lot of units and they're all over the place. I guess I have to really focus my early game on building up enough of an army to deal with the enemy. And what will invariably occur is that you will mostly not play the map. You'll mostly not try to claim additional map control. And you'll mostly just, sort of sit there on one or two bases, build up a big army, get up to the max supply or whatever, and then attack move through the rest of the base, and then see what happens. Like, oh, maybe I have to remax a few times, maybe I have to build more units or whatever. For the most part, that's all you're doing, right? You're not really engaging with an opponent. You're not even really playing the RTS as it was meant to be played. And we can tell this because when you go into multiplayer, the campaigns don't really prepare you. Sometimes the campaigns will have like custom units that are campaign specific, but even if they don't have that, that is not even really the most notorious issue about campaigns anyway. It's just that the opponents don't play fair, and they also don't even really challenge you, even though they have all of these advantages that you don't. They have the pre-placed units, they have the extra money, they have the map control, they have maybe the AI allies, they have like, more members of their team than you or whatever. They have the spawned in waves that like reinforce their position in a dire moment or something, as a pre-scripted event. They don't really play like they're trying to win. They don't really have an objective that they're moving towards. Whereas in a multiplayer game, doesn't matter what the skill level of your opponent is. They queued for multiplayer, bro. They want to beat you, or they want to, if they're on your team, they want to beat the enemy with you, and they feel like an actual player. They don't feel like they're just, even the skirmish AI sometimes does better than the campaign AI in this department, where they feel like they want to win. They feel like they want to beat you. And whether or not it happens, at the very least, they're trying, And that is a very different experience. The reason why I think a lot of people will gravitate towards multiplayer over single player is not necessarily because they only want to play with other human players or against other human players. That may be a part of it. That might be a secondary reason. Maybe that even is their primary reason. But I do believe that a significant number of people who are doing that are doing so out of the desire to have a compelling experience where the opponents are not condescending to them and they're playing on the same like level playing field. Everybody's equal and even in terms of how many assets they have at the beginning of the map, and, the maps are balanced or even symmetrical. The cases are that you're dealing with like a fair battleground against an opponent that really wants to win. That's what they want, right? If single player campaigns can offer that level of engagement where you are up against a player who, an enemy commander, right, in universe who wants to defeat you, then suddenly you take everything way more seriously. Suddenly you can buy into this setting. You can, get behind some of these characters because, you're not having dialogue that tells you, so-and-so is a very formidable opponent. And then, they attack you with like 3 units that are tier 1 and you just mop the floor with them and they never really even hindered you. It's just so underwhelming. And the fact that we haven't really gone past that core interaction as a genre in over 2 decades is mind-boggling, and definitely something that we're going to be very different about. In the community, we kind of have some members of the community will post screenshots from conversations that that are being had about other RTS games or other RTS developers. And, somebody was asking in a Steam forum or something, they were like, will you have AI that are actually useful allies and aren't just like dead weight? And will we have, enemies that we can actually engage with? Will we have enemy AI bases that we can attack instead of them being impenetrable? And instead of them having like spawned in waves, will they have actual attack waves that they train just like me? Like basically, will they play fair? Will they be on the same playing field? Will they be playing the same game as me? Like these basic precepts, that you would just agree with by default and you wouldn't even think about them, but except in the RTS genre where it's just a disaster. The fact that we are already so far conceptually so far beyond the rest of the genre, historically and to modern day, there is zero chance we are not successful, bros. We are going to release our first game is going to be the best RTS. And we're an indie company with no budget, by the way.